I'm Aug. I'm going to be your comedian for a little while. What do you need to know about Auggie Smith? Great question. So the wife and I are about 22 months into a pregnancy scare. It is getting downright horrifying. This is 3 kids. I have 3 kids. The 2 older kids are unemployed and live at home. They're 7 and 5, so we don't give them a lot of flack about it. This is right. I have a 7-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and I have a baby. Yeah, I have a gray beard. And I have a baby. I have an AARP card. And I have a baby. I threw my back out picking up my baby. Guess I won't be doing that again. How old am I? Great question. I find new music on Saturday Night Live. That's how old I am. How old am I? I tell teenagers at the movie theater to settle down, and they usually do. That's how old I am. How old am I? Sometimes the wife wears sexy nurse outfits, but just to get me to take my pills. That's how old I am. Look, here's the thing. If you don't have any kids, way to go. Keep doing that. We're all very proud of the work that you're not doing. But, hey, no kid people, would you do me a favor? Would you quit judging my parenting? That would be awesome, because here's the thing about your opinion of my parenting. I don't care. I don't care about your opinion of something that you've never done. Because here's the thing. I was just like you, no kid people. Before I had kids, I saw parents, and I thought they were idiots. Idiots! Why are you bringing your baby on an airplane? Well, now I can tell you why I'm bringing my baby on an airplane. Because it takes a village to raise a child. And welcome to the village. Look. Whether you choose to have kids or not, if you live in America and you're an adult, you are in the Parenting National Guard. And you could be called up at any time. And let me tell you something. When you're sitting there in your aisle seat and I get on the plane with my crabby baby and my diaper bag smacks you in the face right before I sit down right behind you, that's when it's time to grab a weapon and stand a watch, because you've been called up. For the next 3 hours, your happiness and that baby's happiness are exactly the same thing. Yeah. Why am I bringing my baby on an airplane? To build a better community. That's why. I bring my baby on an airplane to make you a better person. You're welcome. Yeah. Sometimes me and my baby, we just head to the airport and pick a city, man. I got nowhere to be. I'm like, what do you got with the most hungover people on it? Do you have anything coming back from spring break or perhaps a tech convention? In fact, just give us one seat to Vegas and set us next to a bachelorette party. I want people getting off the plane rethinking their life decisions. If you don't have kids, don't judge parenting. I was just like you. Before I had kids, I saw people with the child leash. I thought they were crazy people. Hey, where'd you get the child leash at? Oshkosh bondage? Hey, if I went to your house, would there be a stake in the middle of the yard with a chain attached to it so that during the day your son could run and dig? Hey, that's not safe. Sure it is. The chain doesn't go all the way to the street. Now that I have kids, I think the child leash is genius. I think it's genius. I wheel my kids around like Hannibal Lecter, man. Sometimes I go old school. I have a cage, an actual cage that I put in a wagon, and I drag them around town like it's the 1890s and we're publicizing a freak show. If you don't have kids, don't judge parenting. Every time there's a news story about terrible parenting or so-called terrible parenting, my single friends all have to chime in. Oh, my mom never would have let that happen. My mom knew where we were. 100% of the time. First of all, your mom didn't know where you were most of the time, okay? I have 3 kids. I have no idea where either of them are right now. Because you can't watch them all the time. Every couple years, there's that news story where the woman goes to the zoo and she loses track of her kid, right? And so the zookeeper has to execute some beloved orangutan or ocelot to save the kid's life. Single people think this is weird. Let me tell you something. I got a 7-year-old. He's been in like 4 gorilla enclosures. It's got to be half a dozen cockfights. I saw my son storming the Capitol, okay? You can't watch them all the time. There I am, watching cable news. My boy's got Pelosi's podium and a buffalo hat on. He was just here a minute ago! You can't watch them all the time. Ever have this one happen? Ever have your toddler hand you part of a prescription pill? Uh-oh. Thing about that scenario, it doesn't matter which part. It's equally horrifying. So this is a couple years ago, and my son was a toddler, and we go to see my mom, and you guys wouldn't know this, but my mom is quite a bit older than me. And you know how it is at elderly people's houses. Their houses are mostly medication. They're mostly medication. My mom had load-bearing pill bottles in her kitchen. I'm talking Hunter S. Thompson suitcase level pharmaceutical here, right? So we're sitting there, and my boy, he brings me a nod-on, okay? Nod-on prescription pill. Uh-oh. So the first thing is we got to figure out what the pill is, right? So I think what I'll do is I'll taste it. And then I'll be able to identify exactly what it is we're dealing with. Yeah, finally, my drug use will help my parenting. And everyone can shut up about it, because who's the hero now? So we find out later the pill was her morphine. He's fine! He's fine! For a while, he was really fine. But he's fine. Now, in the United States of America, when your toddler eats your mother's morphine, the next expected action is to dial a number called poison control. Here's the thing, everybody. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Poison control is a scam, okay? It's just dial any number in your contact list. You're going to get very similar advice. So the first thing is she doesn't understand me, right? And she says, wait a minute. You say your boy is in morphine? Yeah, that's right. I'm calling you from an opium den in late 19th century San Francisco. And the toddler that has accompanied me to said opium den has fallen into a barrel of morphine. And I thought I should call you guys to figure out whether I should pull him out or not, because sometimes they say when a man is stabbed, you best not take the knife out right away. And I thought maybe that same logic held for boy in barrel of morphine. And then she asked me the oddest question I've ever been asked. She says, is he acting? Strangely. He's 2 years old. Exactly what is the strange behavior I should be on the lookout here for? Because as it is now, he eats mud, okay? He eats crayons. And when I say crayons, I mean crayons. He'll eat a crayon, then he'll eat another crayon. Is that the normal behavior, or is that the morphine kicking in? You know what? Now that you bring it up, he hasn't been making full and complete sentences all day long. It's as though he doesn't understand the rules that govern the English language. Is that the morphine going on? You know what, now that you bring it up, he's been incredibly temperamental as of late. Almost to an irrational manner, you might say, where if he doesn't get exactly what he wants, he throws himself on the ground like an animal, not like a human at all, but like an animal, and he hits and he kicks until he gets exactly what he... Is that the morphine going on there? You know what? Now that you bring it up, sometimes he feels like a heavy yoke around my neck, weighing me down, causing me actual physical pain, as he is a daily reminder of all the art that I'll never create, just because he is alive. All of the jokes that I won't do and the shows that I won't attend, just because I made the selfish decision to be a father. Is that the morphine going on there? You know what, now that you bring it up, sometimes he feels like a vampire that's attached himself to my vertebrae and is sucking the youth directly out of my life force. Is that the morphine? Oh my gosh, he's crapped his pants! The morphine's kicking in! Send somebody! Thanks, guys. What else do you need to know about Auggie Smith? Great question. Oh, here's one. I, Auggie Smith, have been to the Anne Frank house. The Anne Frank house is the place that you end up if you wait till you're married to visit Amsterdam. Personally, I love being married. I'm a big fan of being married. Story of me is I didn't get married until very late in life. I was in my 40s before I got married. Don't do that. I don't mean don't get married, do that, but do it young. Young men, there are advantages to getting married. When you're a young man, first of all, her dad pays for the wedding. Right? At this point, I'm not going to have her dad pay for the wedding. He's my age, for Pete's sake. I'm not going to have him pay for the wedding. Went to high school with the guy. Secondly, old guys that got married a million years ago, you have no idea how easy you had it back when you got married. Used to be when a guy got married, he had to put on a suit. He had to say 2 words, I do. Didn't have to memorize them. They were there when you got there. He'd eat some shrimp. The whole thing was over. Now you know what they got us doing? You gotta write your own vows, brother. Yeah. Because apparently our love is so darn unique that no 2 people have ever felt it before. And those old vows, you know, the ones written by God, well, they don't quite cover the depths of the emotion that the 2 of us feel for one another in our completely unique, once-in-a-lifetime, it's never happened before in this universe love. Look, here's the problem. They tell you to start a relationship with honesty, right? But then they tell you to write wedding vows. These 2 concepts cannot coexist. There's nothing I'd like more than to stand in front of our friends and family and say that I'm going to love you forever. The problem is, when I was a kid, I thought I would love strawberry milkshakes forever. And now I can't handle dairy. The point is, sometimes you love something, and then it makes you sick. Now, this is true. It's just not well received during a wedding. It's good to see you guys. So I'm an older guy, older comic. Most of us are dead by now. Most old comics that you see get up here and we complain. We complain about everything. We complain about children. We complain about the way that the world has changed. None of these things bother me. I think that they're all great. Have you ever talked to one of my people about food allergies? We get mad. We honestly don't think they exist. We didn't have any food allergies when I was a kid. We just had people that ate strawberries and broke out into hives. What's the matter? 6-year-old with a food allergy. What? Your immune system can't handle 150 years of industrial pollution pumped into your air and drinking water? Get over it, snowflake! My oldest son, he has a food allergy, I guess because I'm so weak. His particular food allergy is to eggs, which is weird because he's half egg. On his mother's side. Now, here's the thing. If you have a kid with a food allergy, you know you need something called an EpiPen, right? First of all, that's a misnomer. Okay, it's a misnomer. It is not a pen. It is a needle. It is not a pen. If you don't believe me, try to address an envelope with your EpiPen. It will not go well for you. It is a needle, it is not a pen, and it costs $650. It costs $650, that's right. I live in Los Angeles, okay? There are needles everywhere, okay? But none of those are good enough for my kid, right? He has to have this very specific $650 needle, which, by the way, expires. Did you know that? They expire. Yeah. Last time I gave my kid eggs, I did it just to get my money's worth. Let me tell you something. If that thing expires August 18th, August 17th is starting with an omelet. Or the day that Daddy saved your life. Look. I don't want to be the angry old comic. You ever talk to one of my people about participation trophies? Participation trophies make me so mad! Teaching a kid to try. Wrong! Trying only leads to failure, which leads to her leaving. But everybody needs a participation trophy, because everybody's the best at everything. Yeah, except for eating a peanut. We get mad about everything. They got rules, and it angers my people. Now, most places you go to a t-ball game, they got a rule, you ready for this one? They don't even keep score during a t-ball game. Wrong! How are the weak ever gonna learn that they suck? Unless we put an enormous scoreboard in the middle of their favorite park, and when they're trying to play an innocent game with their friends, put a big fat 0 next to their stupid loser name. Who are these hippie idiots that think the spirit of competition for children should be about bettering themselves and having their teammates rely on them? Wrong! Competition is about grinding your opponents into the ground and seeing them driven before you and hearing the lamentations of their women. And if you don't learn that by 6 years old, you may never learn it, man. That may look like a Little League field, but we all know that it's a Spartan proving ground. Where the winners will feast from the buffet that is life, while the losers will float like so much chum in an ocean of eternal insignificance. No, but these kids now gotta make their lives so easy. Now, elementary school, Valentine's Day. They got a rule. You ready for this one? Everybody gets a Valentine. Wrong! Everybody knows that Valentine's Day in elementary school is the day that fat kids learn they better develop a sense of humor. Valentine's is the official day where every little popular girl walks up to every little fat kid and says, I don't date yet, but if I did, we wouldn't. Know that I think so little of you that I wouldn't write my name down on a picture of 2 hippopotamuses kissing. A hippopotamus! And hand that to you like I did to every other boy in this classroom. Now go write some punchlines before you die alone, fatty. Poor fat kid felt bad about himself. So he had to go home and develop a defense mechanism of making people laugh. How do you think he got a show tonight? Oh. They got rules now. Most places. PE, you ready for this one? They won't even let them play dodgeball. Wrong! hour a day in between Earth Science and AP Bio. Come on, people, it's simple. You want to survive in America, first you got to learn to square dance. Then you have to master the woodwind instrument known as the recorder. Dodgeball was a lot of fun for you guys that went through puberty at a regular age. My first driver's license, I was 4 feet 10 inches tall. Yeah, I'm not kidding with you. We didn't drive at some crazy age in Montana. That was regular driving age. I'd sit on a book, a little blocks on my shoes like short round. You would think at that size I could dodge balls. I assure you, I could not. Then after dodgeball, after your so-called friends tortured you for an hour with those red rubber balls that only exist on the playgrounds of schools and like nowhere else in the known universe, and they have those dimples on them so they leave track marks on your head for the rest of the day, and everybody can see where you got messed up. It just says Rawlings right here across your eye, upside down in bruise form. After that nightmare, after that waterboarding, they made you shower. They made you shower. And let me tell you something, women. The boys' locker room ain't nothing like the girls' locker room, okay? There's no private stall with the curtain in front of it. There's no feeling of inclusion. There's no traveling pants. There's no chocolate fountain, I would have to imagine. It doesn't smell like Yankee Candle, no. The boys' locker room is a metal and cement pit that God forgot, okay? And there's a bare wall on the far end with spigots coming out of it like the joint, like you're being deloused on your way into Shawshank. And they line you up like so much naked flesh, no matter what part of development you happen to be in. Hey, you guys know what's worse than a bully? A bully that can describe you naked. That is worse than a bully. I'm gonna float something out there. What if things are getting better? I have to believe it. You got kids, optimism is mandatory. Yeah. It's not funny, but it's true. I came to Utah 25 years ago, and I got a ticket, and I'm not letting it go. Okay. I used to spend like $200 on a car. I'd drive it till it blew up. I'd put out my thumb. Somebody take me to the next gig. It was a very exciting way to live. But often, the radio did not work. Okay, young people. In the 1990s, if your radio didn't work, you had something called a Walkman, okay? This was a 16 to 22 pound device that you would either wear on your hip or would sit next to you in the car as you drove. Now, the Walkman did not have the music in it. It was a music delivery system. The music was kept on a cassette tape. Here's what we did. We took the music, we wrapped it up really tight, we covered in plastic, and we put that in a box in the car. So it's not like now where you just say the name of a song and starts playing. That was work! You had to like dig for it, you had to find the corresponding tape, put it into the Walkman, but here's the thing about Walkman, no eject ever worked in the history of Walkman ever. You always had to pry it open like a can of soup on The Walking Dead. You'd get it in there, and then you'd watch it actually spin forward or backward until you found the actual song. This is really the way that we did it. Anyway, I got pulled over because apparently it's illegal to wear headphones when you drive. And I asked the cop, I said, why is it illegal to wear headphones when you drive? And he said, well, you can't hear emergency vehicles to stop for them. And I said, so how are we having this conversation? $900. That ticket was $1997 for wearing headphones. And the car didn't have insurance, and it wasn't technically licensed because I couldn't pass DQ, and my license was suspended at the time, and then I didn't pay the ticket, so they doubled it, but it was $900! That same trip, I came to town and I worked for the guy that books this show. His name is Keith Stubbs. And here's the thing. It was a tough week for me. I had just broken up with a girl. There was a blizzard. I had bronchitis. And I get on stage, and all he asked is that you work kind of clean. That's all he wanted me to do. And at the time, that wasn't really my thing. And so there's literally 10 people in the crowd. And I get on stage, and like I say, I'm in a bad headspace. And I just get to a point where I just, and I just start cursing a blue streak. And then I turn around, and I punch what I think is a wall. And it turns out it's actually a built background. And I put my fist through it. So I'm looking at Keith in the back, and he's lighting me. That means get off the stage, but he's gonna beat me up if I get off that stage. So I stay up there as long as I possibly can. And I walk all 10 people until it's just me and Keith in the room. And here's the deal. He didn't hire me for 25 years after that, until tonight. Because he believes in redemption. He believes that people can change and be different. And I appreciate that. I appreciate being here tonight. All right, guys, we're going to close this out. And I'm going to break a comedy rule. I know all the comedy rules because I've been doing stand-up for 32 years. I've been funny for 11 of those 32 years. And you guys got lucky because it was not consecutive. One thing you never do is you never ask the crowd a question. I'm going to break that rule tonight because I trust you. I'm going to ask you this question. It's a very vague, very general question. If you feel your own truth, go ahead, yell it out. You don't got to raise your hand. If you don't feel it, that's fine too. Because here's what, like I say, it's a very general, very vague question, but maybe, it is the question. And what I want to know tonight, Dry Bar, is what are you looking for in this lifetime? What specifically brings you happiness?
Travel. Food. Freedom. Sleep. Happy wife.
That's right. The answer is consistency. And in my life, America, I have found one thing that we can count on 100% of the time to be consistent. And that one thing that we can count on 100% of the time is the emergency broadcast system. It works 100% of the time. Go old school. Get in your car and turn on the radio. I ain't talking about no Sirius, no XM. I'm talking about the radio, man. There's an actual law where once a week they stop everything, and you're gonna hear this, okay? The following is a test of the emergency broadcast system. This always immediately followed by and then you know everything's right with the world. Because that is the sound of that machine in perfect working order. When the aliens attack, that is the sound our government has devised to galvanize us in battle. Thanks very much. I've been Auggie Smith.